Boston thought it had won. It was wrong. Because when a king is embarrassed, he doesn't forget. He sends soldiers. And in 1768, 4,000 British soldiers marched into the streets of Boston. This is what happened next. It started with the Townshend Acts. 1767, Parliament had learned nothing from the Stamp Act disaster. New taxes on glass, on paper, on paint, on tea, all imported from Britain, all taxed without consent. Charles Townshend, Britain's Chancellor of the Exchequer, stood before Parliament and smiled. This time, he said, the colonies will comply. He was wrong. Boston read the new taxes and felt something beyond anger, something colder, something harder. They had already fought this battle. They had already won, and Parliament had come back for more. Samuel Adams sat at his kitchen table and read the Townshend Acts 3 times. Then he picked up his pen and began to write. Boston that winter was a city that had made up its mind. Merchants canceled British orders. Women spun their own cloth rather than buy British fabric. Printers refused British ink. Even the children understood. A young girl in the North End told her mother she didn't want British candy anymore. Small acts, but multiplied across a city of 10,000 people. They became something enormous. They became a statement. We do not need you. We never did. From Pennsylvania, a voice joined. The chorus of resistance. John Dickinson, a quiet man, a careful man, a lawyer who believed in working within the law. He wrote a series of letters from a farmer in Pennsylvania, published in newspapers. Across all 13 colonies, his message was simple. Parliament has no right to tax us for revenue, none whatsoever. And if we accept it once, we accept it forever. Think about what those letters meant. No television, no radio, no internet, just words on paper, passed from hand to hand, read aloud in taverns, copied and recopied by candlelight. And yet those words reached every corner of 13 colonies, reached farmers who had never left their county, reached merchants who thought only of their ledgers, reached ordinary men and women who had never thought of themselves as part of anything larger than their own small lives, and changed them forever. Britain's response was swift and catastrophically wrong. They sent a warship to Boston Harbor, the HMS Romney, 50 guns, a message written in iron and gunpowder, comply, or else. Then they seized John Hancock's ship, the Liberty, on a charge of smuggling. The streets of Boston exploded. Customs officials were attacked. The governor fled to the safety of Castle William in the harbor, and Britain made its decision. Boston needed soldiers. John Hancock stood on the dock and watched them take his ship, the Liberty. The name was not lost on anyone. His ship, his livelihood, his father's legacy, seized by the crown, without trial, without evidence, without justice. Hancock was a wealthy man. He had more to lose than almost anyone in Boston. And yet, he stood on that dock and made a decision that would cost him everything. He was not going to stop. Not now. Not ever. October 1st, 1768, 4,000 British soldiers marched into Boston, drums beating, bayonets fixed, colors flying. They marched through the streets of a city that watched them in cold silence. No cheers, no welcome, no submission, just silence and 10,000 pairs of eyes that said the same thing. You have made a terrible mistake. Look at the faces of the people, watching, That old fisherman, he has lived in Boston his entire life, never once saw a foreign soldier on his street. Until today, that young mother pulling her son close. He is 7 years old. He will remember this day for the rest of his life. That blacksmith, arms folded, jaw tight, he is not afraid. He is counting the soldiers, counting the days. Samuel Adams watched the soldiers march in. He did not panic. He did not despair. He went home, sat down at his kitchen table, and began to write. Because that was his weapon, not a musket, not a sword, words. And he knew, with absolute certainty, that his words would outlast every one of those soldiers. Boston was now an occupied city. Soldiers quartered in public buildings, redcoats on every corner, cannon pointed at the city from the harbor, and yet the presses kept running, the letters kept coming, the Sons of Liberty kept meeting, because you can occupy a city with soldiers, but you cannot occupy a man's mind. You cannot quarter troops in a man's conscience. You cannot point a cannon at an idea, and the idea was alive, growing stronger every day. Tension in Boston grew through the winter of 1768 and into 1769 and into 1770.